Hello. I don't have any funny or interesting characters this week. It's just me, boring old Mr. Martin. But I wanted to go through your assignments for the last week of e-learning. We're going to do kind of the typical assignments that we've been doing. You'll have a Monday grammar activity, a Wednesday research task, and a Friday poem response. So let me take you through each of these really quickly. These are all on Google Classroom, as you can see. Let's take a look at the Monday grammar activity. This one's a little different. You don't have a quiz this time, and there's not really any lecture per se. It's just you kind of going through a website, and then you're going to have to write 10 sentences here. So let's read the instructions. It says here for number one, to complete this assignment, you must first browse through the article 50 Everyday Sayings Everybody Gets Wrong by Sarah Crow. There's a link here. We'll click on it in a moment. And then you pick 10 of the commonly misspelled or mispronounced sayings. And for each one that you choose, write a sentence that correctly uses that saying. So let's take a look at the website. I thought this was kind of an interesting grammar topic. It's not kind of your run-of-the-mill parts of speech punctuation type thing, but I think it's good to know. 50 everyday sayings we get wrong. And there's 50 of them, so you don't have to read every single one necessarily, but you can kind of browse through them. I thought this was interesting. We often hear the phrase hunger pains. Like if you're really hungry, then you have hunger pains. And actually that makes sense, but that's not the saying. Let's read beneath every saying. There's a picture and then an explanation. Here it says, though it's entirely possible to experience hunger-related pain, the standard English phrase for that churning feeling in your belly is actually hunger pang, or having hunger pangs. Sure, people will know that you're talking about, people will know what you're talking about when you say hunger pain, but you'll sound much more informed if you use the proper phrase. I'll just look at a couple more of these. Some of these you'll be familiar with. Some of them you probably never heard before. Like just, for example, the phrase, oh, we're just going to have to make do. Well, if you were to write that out, a lot of people might mistakenly say make do as this is the Mr. Baker do, D-U-E. However, it's actually D-O. If you're going to make do, it's D-O. The only person who can really make something do is a teacher with a homework assignment. The rest of us, on the other hand, will have to make do with making do. Maybe you've heard the phrase by and large. Actually, it's by and large, and it means kind of like overall. The one that I wanted to find was, this is a popular one. Sometimes you hear people say, I could care less. That's actually not what you mean to say. When you say, people say I could care less, and they mean to say I don't really care about something. But if they say I could care less, it means that they do care and they could possibly care less. What they really mean to say is I couldn't care less. So people mess that up all the time. It's not a dog eat dog world. It's a dog eat dog world. This is the one I was looking for because I've heard people say this. There is no such word as irregardless. Like people say, well, irregardless of that fact, we still need to do this. Well, what you did is you added an extra prefix onto a word that you didn't even need. That's not irregardless is not a word. It's just regardless. Regardless of how much slang slips into your vocabulary, don't use the word irregardless under any circumstance. Regardless is a word. This permutation, sadly, is not. Nip it in the. Growing up, I always thought it was nip it in the butt, like to stop something before it really gets out of hand. You nip it in the butt. And that's not the saying. It's actually nip it in the bud, like as in a flower, like before it blooms, you clip it in the, this is a scissors, clip it in the bud. So anyway, go through these, find 10 of them, and then you answer these questions. Basically, you just have to write 10 sentences that uses a saying correctly. So find 10 sayings, use them correctly in sentences, and maybe as you're going through that list, you'll find some of those sayings that you have been in the habit of mispronouncing. So it's kind of a fun little grammar task, different than what we've been doing. Wednesday's research task rather is kind of it's up to you. You get to choose a topic here. It's supposed to be space related here. The instructions are still the same. Use the internet to answer the following question. Well, you don't have a question, you just pick a topic. Your answer should be at least 100 words. Of course, use proper grammar and spelling. Practice sophisticated word choice and sentence variety. Otherwise, do a nice job writing this thing. Of course, do not copy directly from the internet. I did find that a couple times last week. People plagiarized. Cite your info in the text, either parenthetically or by mentioning the source. So I want proper in-text citation, either use the parentheses or just say according to. And then finally, please still do use a proper MLA citation afterwards, but it's a free topic here. Choose one topic related to space or space exploration. You could pick a planet, a star, a galaxy, a space shuttle, and then you write your 100 words on that topic. Again, still include in-text citation and an MLA works cited entry. So maybe your favorite planet, maybe there's a cool star or a galaxy or asteroids, or the Hubble telescope, or the International Space Station, or colonizing Mars, or what happens if an asteroid is headed towards Earth and is going to destroy us? How do we make the asteroid take a different path? Any black holes, anything cool related to space that you think is cool, look it up and tell me about it. 100 words, but it's a research paragraph, so you need to make sure to cite properly. And then finally, your final assignment of 8th grade language arts is the poem response, and this one's a cool one. Again, your answers should total up to at least 100 words. Some people are answering all the questions, but they're not writing at least 100 words. I'm going to go ahead and read the poem with you. It's pretty sweet. And one reason I really like it is because supposedly it was written by the poet when he was in 8th grade. I don't know. This is the only poem I know by Julio Noboa Polanco. But he grew up to be a writer then, and he wrote this in 8th grade. It's a pretty good poem for an 8th grader. It's titled Identity. It's about who you are, but he kind of thinks of who he is in terms of, like, if I were a plant, what type of plant would I be? So that's the framework for the poem. He says, let them be as flowers, always watered, fed, guarded, admired, but harnessed to a pot of dirt. I'd rather be a tall, ugly weed, clinging on cliffs like an eagle, wind wavering high above jagged rocks, to have broken through the surface of stone, to live, to feel exposed to the madness of the vast eternal sky, to be swayed by the breezes of an ancient sea, carrying my soul, my seed, beyond the mountains of time or into the abyss of the bizarre. I'd rather be unseen, and if then shunned by everyone, than to be a pleasant smelling flower growing in clusters in the fertile valley where they're praised, handled, plucked by greedy human hands. I'd rather smell of musty green stench than of sweet, fragrant lilac. If I could stand alone, strong and free, I'd rather be a tall, ugly weed. If you asked me that question, if you could be any plant, what type of plant would you be? And I probably would not say a tall, ugly weed, but the way he makes it sound, maybe being that tall, ugly weed isn't so bad, because he actually gives the weed a setting, kind of on the seaside on a rocky cliff, and you get the ocean there, and be exposed to the madness of the vast eternal sky, the breezes, the sea. He's like an eagle clinging, on a cliff. Kind of a very cool setting. And furthermore, he doesn't have to be around everybody. Hey, are you one of those people that doesn't like to be crowded and always have people around you? Well, Julio Noboa Polanco is also that type of person. He argues here that if you're a nice, pretty flower, well, you're stuck in a pot. I'd rather be in a cool seaside than stuck in some little pot And everybody's admiring me and says at one point like they're handling me and I'm being plucked by greedy human hands. So it's kind of an interesting thought experiment there in terms of if you could be any type of plant, what type of plant would you be? And your questions for this week have to do with that. So, number one, this is a really broad question, maybe tough to answer. The poet Julio Noboa Polanco wrote Identity when he was an eighth grader in Chicago. Through the analogy of a plant, he attempts to express who he is. So, in 50 words or less, what is your identity? I'm kind of just saying, who are you? At the end of your eighth grade year, who are you? Polanco, number two, says he wishes to be the weed rather than the flower. In his mind, why is being the weed better than being the flower? So that's just interpreting the poem there. And then number three, this is the fun part. Let's continue with the comparison between types of plants and types of people. What type of plant symbolizes you best? If you are any type of plant, what type of plant are you? And you can go further, as Polanco does. You can also put yourself in a specific setting. So he puts himself along the seaside, a beautiful spot there, and the wind and the waves, and I don't know. So it's a great place to be. If you're going to be stuck any one place, maybe that's the place to be stuck. But think along those lines and tell me what you come up with. I will be excited to read it. So those are your assignments for the final week. I don't know how much I'll get to talk with you or interact with you, but I just want to say it's been a fun year. It's been the weirdest year of my teaching career because basically the last quarter we didn't see each other. But I have a lot of fond memories of each one of you. I could probably go through my grade book and just think of your names here and think of my interactions with you throughout the year and think of how much fun that we had together. So I will definitely miss you. Hopefully I'll see you around, and I plan to kind of comment back on your assignments here. Also, one thing to note, your assignments, because this is the last week of e-learning, your assignments are all going to be due earlier than they have in the past. In the past, I've been giving you an entire week to do an assignment, but I want these all in by the end of May 12th, which is next Tuesday, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, because I got to, I don't know, just kind of wrap things up. I want to tabulate all the e-learning points and get those back to you. Again, you're earning e-learning bucks for the assignments that you've been doing, because technically you really don't get a grade for these. So I want to give you some sort of form of credit, and I'll tabulate those up, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to you kind of how much you've earned, and then I can send a Amazon gift card your way for that amount. By the way, it has to be at least $1. If you didn't earn $1 worth of e-points, in other words, 10 points, because every point's a dime, then I can't give you an Amazon gift card, because I can't give you a gift card for anything less than $1. Like, it just doesn't let me do it. But I would send that to you via your student email, so you could find the code there and you could use it towards whatever you want to buy on Amazon. Or let me know. Some of you have told me you'd rather contribute your e-learning bucks to charity, which I can do. Just let me know. You can either put a comment below or you can email me. But I picked SaveTheChildren.org, which is donating food and supplies to kids that need it during the coronavirus lockdown, or stjudes.org, which is a hospital for kids with cancer, and they do cancer research there. So let me know if you'd like your Amazon gift card, or you'd rather give your card to one of those or your e-bucks to one of those charities. And I think that's it. Don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions. Have a great week.